Think we're just waiting for 3 more members, I believe.
Yeah.
We haven't. No one else has come in yet.
It'll ding. Yeah. It should ring like a doorbell. Let me know, I'll be over here.
The last version of the updated right proposal is what we're gonna look at.
Yes, the
one
latest.
with- Okay, perfect.
I sent that around just after 4 o'clock.
Yeah, okay, that's the one I printed, so, okay, perfect. On the meeting minutes and in general agenda, I know that's a little bit confusing with my last name because under the email, it shows my maiden name. So I think that my name always appears now with the Carraras, but it's actually Gassy.
Cassie, yes. So I think I may have to look at the meeting minutes on that one. We may have to
Yeah,
just amend them.
okay. So I tried to, on my Yahoo account, I tried to change, but I kept Carraras because some people, you know, my friends from high school and stuff like that know me like that. So probably I'll have to change the order to put Gassy Carraras, maybe it'll show it properly, I don't know, I have to.
Okay,
I'm sorry about that.
that's okay. Let's see if Hey, okay, what number are you using again? That's the meeting ID? Oh, we have an updated one here. I'll give it to you right now. Okay, are you ready? Okay, meeting ID is 881-6845-6247. Okay. Okay. Siri, okay, good. That was Ken Finlay.
Somebody else.
Hi, Chris.
Yes,
Hi.
All right, sorry about that.
that's okay.
I went back, I couldn't find, the last one I got was when you sent the meeting notice out. That's the number that was on that one.
Okay.
Okay, so is everybody on?
Jimmy.
I think we're just missing James.
All right. I know, I wonder if he's working off the same number that I'm working off of. Yeah, the wrong number.
But because I did send it, a new one out. I believe that was on Tuesday. I sent that one. Yes, we caught it.
Yeah. The only thing I got on Tuesday was the minutes from you, Chris.
Was the agenda.
Okay, well, anyway, I'm going to call to order the Community Development Advisory Board meeting Thursday, May 14, 2020 at 6:40 p.m. Attendance, Georgetta,
Present.
Siri,
She's muting.
okay, she's here.
Yeah.
Siri, you have to unmute.
Oh,
I
okay.
unmuted her.
There
got
you
her.
are. James?
Not here.
Not yet. And Ken Finlay is present.
Mhm.
Okay, the next order of business is the approval and correction of the minutes of the meeting from May 7th. Did everybody have a chance to review them? Therese did a very good job at capturing all of the comments.
Yeah.
Is there any additions, corrections?
Yes, I have one correction regarding my name. My last name is spelled the maiden name Carradas as it appears on the email instead of Gassy. That's the only thing I noticed.
All right, so Georgetta, what correction do you want to make?
My last name instead of Carradas should read Gassy.
Okay.
It's
Chris,
Georgia.
you have that?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any other corrections?
I didn't notice anything.
Okay, a motion to accept is in order.
I make a motion to accept the minutes from the previous meeting on May 7th.
Motion by Georgetta. Is there a second, Sari?
Just muted again.
Let me go to gallery here. Sari, do you wish to second? Sari, you have to unmute if you're going
Okay,
to speak.
I did it. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Thank you.
okay. Sari, you're going to second the minutes?
Yes.
Thank you.
Chief Finlay,
Yes,
if we could do a roll call for the votes, please.
yes. I was planning on doing that.
Okay.
Okay. So a motion has been made by Georgetta, seconded by Sari to approve the meeting minutes. And I is in favor of approving. So Georgetta,
Aye.
Sari,
I,
Ken Finlay votes aye. James Ackley, I don't see him on yet, so James is absent at this time. The next order of business is public comment.
Chief
You
Finlay,
indicated that the public should send their questions to you.
yes.
Have you received any questions or dialogue?
No, I have not. I did invite River's Edge for tonight, so they should be here, and they did have the most updated info to get connected into Zoom.
good.
Okay.
We do have someone from the public.
I see that. Can you unmute
Yes,
and see if there's any comments from Mr. Ward?
yes.
We need masks. Oh, I'll get my other couple ones. They're right there.
Mr. Ward? Mr. Ward, do you have any public comment? Okay. Hearing none, we will move on to the discussion of the board packet, the revised departmental community request. At this time, we have received an updated move this over this way so I don't keep looking away from you. An updated expenditures for the board to review. Does everybody have that document in front of them?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I also had made some changes. But we'll work off the document that Chris sent out with the revised numbers. So the line 1, the 267, 192 has not changed from our first meeting. Line 2, the HUD-led grant match was initially at 140. It has been revised to 51,600. Chris, do you have an explanation for the reduction?
I was going over this with the director, and it was that I overestimated because I didn't know the exact amount of what we would need for the match.
If I could chime in on that, there is a local match to the lead grant, but that's over a 42-month period. The program manager is matched. There's some local match monies, which will be CDBG, and then the risk assessor will be partially a local match as well. So we looked at the proposed schedule of those expenses, and it's around 51.6 for the program year.
It's gonna be.
Okay. The line 3 code enforcement program, that went up by 40,000 from 110 to 150.
That is correct.
We were looking at the burn rate on the code enforcement side and carryover funds, and based upon those two and the payments to the city, the $150,000 would be necessary to cover those costs.
And that, if my notes, that's mostly salaries. If my notes from the initial meeting.
That is correct.
Yeah. Okay. Are there any questions on the changes in lines 2 or 3?
I have question on line 2. I don't have the reports, but how you make a decision from 140 to less than half? How you make a decision on that, from the progress or the report, or what made the decision on to give 51,600?
We have an analysis of
Yes.
what match requirements are over the 42-month grant period.
Yes.
So we looked at that over a monthly basis for the next 12 months, and it's $51,600, not $140,000. The $140,000 is almost the total match requirement over the entire grant period. So it just wasn't amortized appropriately over the this year.
So how about last year? What has been like successful or done? I'm just curious.
The lead grant is brand new.
Yeah.
Oh, because last year,
Last year.
zero last year. I
Zero last
understand.
year.
It's just being launched now.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes.
What exactly is gonna be covered under this grant? Like the money goes towards what?
The money actually part of it will go to a sub-grantee, which we're going to be out to RFP on that. It's probably going to be, we would expect it's probably going to be the community-led action program.
Okay.
And the Providence Community Action Program, which have got deep experience in running lead hazard management.
Okay.
And then we have, as part of the program, we have to hire 3 staff people. One's a program manager. A portion of that salary is paid for by the city. We have a risk assessor, which is partially paid for by the city, and a construction person. all of which is paid for by the federal government. So effectively, we have to qualify people for participation in the program. They have to meet income eligibility requirements, which will be basically determined through our sub-grantees. We go into the properties, we do risk assessments, we correct the problems, and the families may have to be relocated temporarily during the lead mitigation. And then there is a forgivable loan that's initiated with the property owner, that as long as the property is continually rented by a income eligible person for that 5 years, and that loan is forgiven.
Okay, makes sense.
This is
And there is any problem, like because of the situation now, this money are not spent this on the next 12 months, the grant is still can be then pushed for the next year, or
Yeah.
is that?
a very good
okay.
question. A very good question. We're working with HUD right now on that, and we're also working with some of the other communities that have lead money. The COVID situation has kind of created a big question mark.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
how quick we can get people into the field, that's going to be a big question. I think the manager's position is something that we're going to be out to advertise for now. But yeah, we're going to have to play this by ear because none of us really know
Exactly.
the future
Okay.
predicts for us. But everybody knows that, and HUD knows that, and you know the forgiveness will be there probably to
Perfect.
push the program out a little longer.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Mr. Gibbs, this is Ken Finlay.
Yeah, Ken.
On the lead grant program, is there a limit to how many units are covered? Is this
200 units is the benchmark.
okay? I meant specific buildings. Is this for 1, 2, 3, 8 units? Or?
No, it just, they have to meet certain age profiles, which are basically define them as lead hazards. But the benchmarks for the program basically has us servicing 200 units in the city through the program period, which is 42 months.
Very good. Okay, thank you. There any other questions on 2 or 3?
No.
Number 4 remain the same. Fire department equipment replacement was proposed at 50,000. It remains at 50,000. Road reconstruction was earmarked at 100,000. It's been increased to 214,274. Chris or Mr. Gibbs, who would like to take this on? If my notes indicated that this was census tract specific.
Yes, it is.
So has the director identified specific roads that he wants to attack?
No, other than the fact that there's a lot of demand for the money, but the Laurel Street is a big project that the city is working on. So that could be one area that we would target. Effectively, the increase in this budget item, Chief Finlay, is we took $100,000 out of the small business loan program and put it up into road reconstruction. And when we get down to the small business loan program, I can explain to you why that happened.
Okay. Are there any questions? Sidewalk reconstruction was proposed at 100. It remains at 100. Senior Center exterior ADA improvements was proposed at 100. It has been reduced to 50,000.
Yes. After discussing this with the director, we felt that the best course of action would be to bring on either an architect or engineer and give us to assess the building so we know what's in front of us. So then we can better be prepared to address the needs.
Yeah, to clarify that, we've been putting money into those categories without a defined purpose other than a very general use. There are no specific improvements that have been specified. So to me, it didn't make a lot of sense. So what we'd rather do is just develop some clarity as to what are some of the improvements that have to be made, not just to the senior center, but also to other public buildings for accessibility reasons, and then to become more pragmatic going forward on a capital improvement program to deal with accessibility on a year-by-year basis so that we know what we're really earmarking the money for, as opposed to just putting money into a category and see what happens.
That's a very good course of action in my mind. I did go by the senior center after our meeting, and Mr. Casaferro had indicated about the chain along the loading dock. And as I looked at the building, that's just one of many issues that I see in looking at the building. So bringing an architect in for an assessment, I think, will give us a clearer path of movement to making that building more usable.
We also are moving forward with a grant, an AARP grant, which will be used for the senior center. And that grant will be used for both an outside garden area for the seniors, as well as for an outside fitness area. So it's not like we're not investing in the senior center. That's specific purposes that the AARP grant will pay for. So although we may not be including as much money here or holding it flat, we're in effect looking to get more money from other outside sources.
Right.
Very good. Are there any questions on that? Public building improvements and accessibility was listed, proposed at 75,000. 50,000 has been removed from that to 25,000.
Again, Chief, it's because we don't have any specific targeted list of improvements that we need. So
Yes.
That's really a category that we were hoping to maybe engage some outside services to do an assessment. The only caveat to that is that we're going to want to be very careful that if we do an assessment and do find some accessibility issues, that doesn't all of a sudden lock us into making changes to those right now. So we're going to have to assess what those risks are before we go too far ahead of ourselves. But again, it's basically to back off the money a little bit until we know what we're spending it on.
And along with spending it on would probably be some guidelines as to the cost also.
Absolutely. If we were to do an assessment, we would also do some kind of general budgeting for specific improvements, and that will have great value to the advisory board going forward as we look at future CDBG budget years and how we're going to allocate money. Now we'll know what we're allocating it for.
Makes sense.
Very good. I understand that. Are there any questions on that? Okay. Woonsocket Police Department feet on the beat, that's staying at 25,000 as proposed. The commercial rehabilitation facade program proposed at 120 is remaining at 120. The small business loan program did have 100,000 earmarked, has been zeroed out, and Mr. Gibbs is going to explain this reasoning.
Yes, the reason being is that we have received approval for some supplemental funding under the CARES program, which will be additional CDBG money under the 2019-20 year, 2020-21 year, or 19-20, I'm sorry. So with those monies, what we're looking to do, and we're in the development stages on this right now, is to create a working capital loan program for city businesses. And the focus of that program is to help businesses that have been severely harmed by the pandemic, to give them working capital loans to allow them to quickly ramp up and operate again as the executive orders start to get relaxed. We see a lot of small businesses and especially restaurants that are dealing with these issues. Some of them is back utility bills, back rent payments, inventory issues. So we're looking at doing a working capital loan to assist them, not that dissimilar to what the state of Rhode Island's doing with CDBG money. So this is our effort to be very aggressive to help our business community to get back up on their feet. A little footnote to that, the running of these programs is not a it's a heavy lift. It's not just a recruitment and a referral process, but it's also an underwriting, documentation, and monitoring process. We are in conversations right now with several possible organizations that can partner with us for an administrative fee and to actually do that back office operations for us so that it's done correctly. That's a process that we are currently exploring. We're talking to the Rhode Island Commerce Corporation, which is running the same kind of program in the state. We're talking to the Business Development Corporation out of Rhode Island, or Business Development Corporation of Rhode Island, Peter Dorsey's group, as well as the possibility of the Local Initiative Service Corporation. So we're looking at some options to partner with, because I really don't think the department has the capacity to effectively run this kind of program. But we would be the front of the build of the process. We would do the recruitment, preliminary screening, and the referral to our back office operation. So how much money we're going to put in that, we're not sure yet. We're still working on it, but we're looking to have a significant portion of that money to go to this kind of program.
Mr. Gibbs,
That's why we reprogrammed the $100,000 in this budget out of there.
Siri?
Yeah, I have a question to this regard. Number one, I do know you said you have no idea. Can you estimate at least rough number, like 100,000, 200,000 for this loan?
Yeah,
Number
my guess is it's probably going to be in the tune of $300,000 to $400,000. Our CDBG supplemental under the CARES program is $785,912. 20% of that can be used for admin.
Yes.
That basically leaves a balance of $628,730. So this is one of the potential uses that we would look to use this money for.
Yeah.
We're still in the stages right now of developing that program as recommendations.
Also, another question, please. Underneath of that money that you estimate of having to let them having a loan, my question is that I do know that you have to lend them. So what is the interest rate? Like gonna be very low? Like what is the estimate of the interest?
We're still in the process right now of sort of developing the parameters of the program. What I wanted to do is to really preliminarily define who our back office operation is, and then to really talk to them about what their experience has been so far on that demand side. My guess is that we're probably going to look at loans from anywhere from $5,000 to $20,000. It's probably going to be lent out at an interest rate of 5%. And it's probably will be interest only for a period of time to give them the flexibility to get their businesses back up and operational.
Yes.
Some of the programs, like the one running out of the Rhode Island Department of Administration, is being called a micro enterprise program. That's a grant program, and philosophically, we're not supportive of a grant program. We believe in loans to businesses. Will these loans possibly be forgivable if the companies stay in business for a long enough period of time? Yes, possibly they will, because our main objective is to get people back to work. But the actual details of this program, Siri, are still being developed.
Yeah. Thank you, because I'm curious, because I really want it to happen to our city. We need it.
Badly.
Yeah, definitely. But
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yes.
We're looking at a potential loss rate of 50% of restaurants
Oh, no.
from the pandemic.
Yes.
You know, we have to do everything that we can to
Yeah.
help them get back on their feet. It's good for the city and it's good for the residents and the workers.
Yes. Particularly have to be lower than the marketing rate or the bank.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
it has to be more workable than the banks.
That's right.
What we're
Okay.
looking to do, we're not looking at heavy underwriting here. We're looking at probably a very simple, simple stage credit report on the
Yes.
borrower, just to
Yes.
make sure that the borrower is, say, at least a 625. And then
Yes.
after that, that's all the underwriting we're talking about.
Right.
If you go beyond that, then you're just acting like a bank.
That's
and
right.
It becomes hard to work, and that's not what the business community really
That's
needs.
right.
now.
But I'm glad. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yes.
It's a good program.
I concur also, Scott, with having an outside agency. Initially, we don't know when City Hall will be unlocked for the general public to come in. But also people that are more adept at this program will be a benefit for the businesses looking to capitalize to reopen. And to expedite the process, I believe the outside agency is the best way to go on this. So that's a very good explanation.
Yeah. I agree.
Excuse me. Micro enterprise mini grant pop-up retail program. That stayed as proposed at 5,000, along with the rental utility assistance. As proposed was 2,500. It remains at 2,500. City park and accessible playground equipment has been temporarily suspended. It was proposed at 100,000. Chris, you have in a question mark.
Question mark. Yes, that's still, we were discussing that today, but right now, it looks like for right now, we won't be moving any funding in there.
We've spent a lot of money in the parks. Most of the parks have already been addressed. So we didn't see any reason based on the level of demands on our money to put money into the parks. Now, with that being said, there is a potential that if a really important project surfaced that the city had, we do have some unexpended money, some much earlier CDBG years that we could actually move into this category if we wanted to. But again, there is no defined project right now. So if there's no defined project, let's not put money in there.
The only question I would have, and I don't know if this has been a discussion with Ms. Kerrigan, is when the city reopens, is there going to be a sanitizing method for this, for the park?
Good
And
question.
how's this going to be
Yeah,
accomplished?
guidelines.
I can reach out to her tomorrow and see if I can get an answer for the advisory board.
And if we can quantify that and get some definition on that, then we may be able to move the numbers around to basically put some monies into that category to help underwrite the cost for them to deal with that.
It's, you know, it's going to be a concern, a parental concern, I'm sure.
Yep.
As we start gathering in the parks again. So, redevelopment agency of Woonsocket, proposed was 25,000. It remains at 25,000. Blight removal was proposed at 50,000. It has been increased to 67,280. Was that census tract specific also?
For right now, I'm going to say no. Generally, though, with blight and demolition money, when you use community development block grant funds, they are specific about the property has to either, and two examples are, it has to revert back to the public domain, such as a park or a green space or passive space. Economic development, they like to see it turned into, and also and/or affordable housing. Those are the three hot topics for HUD when it comes to that.
And we are working on some projects right now, concepts that that money would really help in making those projects happen. And in those cases, it's in an area, a census tract that clearly qualifies.
Okay. So the subtotal for these categories is $1,152,848. And that's all on city departmental projects.
Yes.
Are there any questions on city departmental projects before we move on to public projects and social projects?
No. Where?
It doesn't mean that we can't go back later. I just on the public projects, the senior services, alternative adult care proposed at 30,821, and senior services elderly nutrition program 107,293 has been proposed. Those two numbers have stayed the same, and Mr. Gibbs explained that those were being eliminated from the city budget. So there is a definitive need for those to be funded in this program.
We're also exploring, now we fully funded those requests because we think that they're really important. We've also reached out to help me, Chris, on the name of the group again, the grantee.
It's now Aging Well, Inc. The program,
Okay,
one of the
Well,
programs
Inc.
is the elderly nutrition program,
Right.
but the
We've
agency
reached
is now
out-
Aging Well, Inc.
We've reached out to them and have started to sort of assess the impacts of COVID on them. And we've been doing that in context, again, of the supplemental CARES money that we've received. What we can't do is to use the CARES money to help underwrite increasing operating costs for them because of personal protective equipment, increasing sanitization, all those kinds of things. We can't cover that under the CARES money. But if we can quantify a specific program that they are going to run to deal with COVID-affected people, elders, we could possibly fund that out of the CDBG supplemental CARES money. So we are investigating that right now. But in terms of what's eligible, under this program, we fully funded them.
Yes. Have they indicated that they had any elderly homebound that have contracted COVID-19?
They've given us some data, but the data was purely operational related. So we have to dig deeper with them on that.
Okay. Community Care Alliance Housing Stabilization Program was proposed at 20,000. It has been reduced to 5,000.
Which is consistent with what was previously budgeted. Understand too that under the Emergency Solutions Grant projects, Community Care Alliance is in there as well for housing stabilization and rapid rehousing. So, again, we've basically, we've focused on that area and we've cut it back on here, again, trying to make all the numbers work.
Okay. Line 20, Rivers Edge Arts was proposed at 20,576. It has been reduced to 15,000. Chris, you indicated, but I don't see anybody from Rivers Edge on the screen. So
No, I will reach out to her again and see if she can. I did ask her. She has not given me an update yet, and that was one of the purposes of having her participate in the public comment period. I will reach out to the executive director again.
Thank you.
And get get some information from her, and hopefully maybe she will be able to attend our next meeting.
Okay. The Downtown Woonsocket Collaborative requested 13,200. That has been zeroed.
Chris, if I could jump in on that, the issue here is that's technically not a fundable project. We can't give a grant to another organization to give grants. So we just can't fund it. And there are some questions with some organizations, their ability to effectively manage those grants, even if it was eligible, based upon the federal guidelines. So going forward, we'll probably reach out to Downtown Woonsocket Collaborative for the next year and see maybe how we can position them in a more effective way to propose a program that is fundable.
I had reservations, as you might recall from my comments from the first meeting on that. So I can understand your positioning on this and endorse that. Sojourner House.
Oh, Chief, if I can just jump in also, just to share a thought, especially to Scott. I believe this is the third year in a row that the agency has come back. It's the same exact application. So
I'll make it my personal mission next time to reach out to the organization to see if we can get them to do things differently for the next year so we could fund them. Because what they're proposing is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just that it's not meeting the funding requirements.
I think the first year, Chris, they wanted to put a park on Main Street.
yeah, you are correct. It was in that parking
Then they
lot.
came
by
back with the grant
Yes.
proposal. Yeah. But
And
this
that
is
was right
definitely
when
the
the city-
second year that they.
Yes.
Okay. Sojourner House was listed at 25,000, and it has remained at 25,000.
Domestic violence is way up.
YWC
Domestic violence is way
Yeah.
up right now with the COVID problem. It's important that we fund them for the level that they asked.
Yes, concur. The YWCA did not apply. I'm concerned that it's because they're shut down. Or
No,
their program.
the executive director, I provide them with an application. They just never submitted one. They did draw down their award from this past year, and they drew it down before everyone shut down. So, but
Chris, what were those monies used for?
those funds were used for after-school tutoring and mentoring program. They bring over the middle school and high school girls, and they usually have up to 50 girls in the program. But they completed they drew down the funds that were awarded to them through the Community Development Block Grant Program back in February. But they were probably impacted because obviously the school's closing, and they also have a lot of children who are in daycare there. So that's probably been temporarily shut down.
Probably getting pretty hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that grant was specific to the tutoring.
Yes, it was.
If memory serves me, and I didn't look up my notes from last year, but it was specific to the tutoring. So I just don't know if they're going to be in a bind come September, October, if schools open back up and we don't have an allocation in there for them. But if they didn't apply,
It's really a challenge reaching out to organizations that don't apply, only because it's not very fair to those organizations that did apply.
Yeah.
understandable. Social service project activity subtotal.
Oh, I just put that as just an asterisk. That's not an activity.
I understand that.
Oh,
the
okay.
subtotal is 183,114 combined with the 1,152,848 of the city departmental projects brings us to the allocation of 1,335,962, which is what our CDBG grant award is.
Yes.
And I must say that your revisions are much better than the revisions that I put forward. So I'm just going to discard my revisions at this time, and we will work off the revisions that were supplied to us, they seem to make much more fiscal sense than what I had put down. So with that, the whole proposal on the home investment partnership program, that is unchanged completely from the proposal. Is there any modifications that anybody from the committee would like to make to that?
Yes.
Chief,
and
there is,
I
there are-
apologize.
there are some significant changes.
Okay. Mr. Gibbs?
Do you
Did you
want me to
not
go ahead,
insert
Scott?
them, Chris? Yeah, there are some
Yes, I did.
significant changes between what was
no.
originally proposed. Okay, you did, good. The admin obviously stays the same. The first time home buyer assistance program has been, we've reduced the funding from $60,000 to $5,000. Part of that is because we have $55,000 of unexpended money from the previous year. So we could carry that forward. There's not been a lot of demand of that, and quite frankly, we probably need to reassess how that program is structured, specifically as it relates to the deposit requirement. But that's why we reduce it. We do have a carry forward of $55,000 from the previous program year. Code-related repair and lead hazard has been reduced from $226.90 to $178,563. Part of it's just about making the numbers work, but also we have the lead grant now from HUD. So there's some duplication there because this program allocation includes lead. So we can maybe work those two programs together for greater efficiencies. The rental assistance with the Partner Community Care Alliance was originally at $60,000. We basically are not funding that right now. We're looking to fund them under the ESG area. And the biggest material change on this is we had originally budgeted $68,138 into the CHOTA, the Community Housing Development Organization, which has a 15% minimum of the money has to go there. And we've done a significant increase in that. The reason being is because we are looking to develop a more robust partnership with the CHOTA as it relates to owner-occupied housing. We've talked about some projects together. This money can be used at bricks and mortar and can be partnered with monies that the CHOTA has to do some really good projects. And we felt that that was probably the best way to get money into the community as quick as possible and do some really good projects. The focus again on this is owner-occupied housing under the CHOTA's program. These also are houses that pay full property taxes to the city. They are not reduced property taxes. I spoke to Joe Garlick of NeighborWorks Blacksville River Valley yesterday, and he's very excited about working with us on this. Now, again,
Okay,
as it goes forward, depending on how these programs emerge, we can always move money around and reallocate it if necessary.
Okay. First, I have to apologize on my misstatement. I had my screen split over and took the revision column out. So that
Okay.
was why I made the statement that it was as proposed. I apologize for that mistake.
I was
that's
blaming
okay.
on Chris.
A couple of questions on the CHOTA. How much difficulty do you think we're going to have with the COVID-19 and people being out of work trying to get a mortgage financing or some type of pre-approval for this program?
You know, it's a good question. You know, the way I look at it is that we've got to basically roll the dice and assume that life gets back to normal sooner than later. I mean, we could crawl into a ball and hide and think that nothing's going to happen, but I think things are going to start to emerge. I think the main point about this is that it's really important to partner with organizations that have a real track record, that have the ability to leverage our money with other monies for the best interest of the city. So, you know, if we find, Chief, that this thing is being prolonged and it's having a serious impact on people who can in fact qualify for acquisition, then we'll have to reprogram the money. At this point in time, we're going to assume that, you know, with a matter of 4 or 5 months, things start to settle down. If not, we're all in trouble.
Okay. Yeah. And the
This
reduction
is a
in the
pretty
lead is
substantial.
being covered with the lead program.
That's correct. This is a pretty substantial change in direction under this program, under home money. There's always seemed to me to be somewhat of a strained relationship, if you will, with NeighborWorks, and I don't think that's healthy. And we're really trying to rebuild that bridge.
Understandable. Okay. Are there any other questions? So with the CHOTA, would that be able, the first time home buyer be able to go in with the CHOTA?
Yes.
There could be a possible marriage there. Because right now, currently, we have a small project with NeighborWorks, and it will be a first-time home buyer owner-occupied duplex. So we'll be able to use the first-time home buyer funds for that project and it'll be an extension of the partnership.
That's on Front Street.
Yeah. Okay. Siri, did you have a question?
I think you were only talking about it, but I come back later. Sorry. I will ask again. Let me think about it because you
Okay.
guys have talked about it. So I'm also, for now, I'm okay.
Okay. Are there any?
I
any
have
questions?
questions. 2 things, please. I have the question now.
Okay.
I remember now. Why you lower the number of funding for the first-time home buyer? I think I missed something. Why the lower amount of funding?
Because we have $55,000 of unexpended money from the previous budget year.
Okay.
We budgeted 60,000 then. We have 55,000 left. We can move that forward into this year and still provide services.
Okay. Now I have some suggestion, not about the program, for another program. Can I say now or I can wait? I have a comment for Leverage Arts program. I want the board and Chris to please let the director know when she come up next time that first I would like to support this program because for the target population age 14 to 24, I just want her to narrow down, more concentrate on what is the implementation plans during the COVID situation. What is the implementation plan for her program to approach the target population? Either A, not yet back in normal situation, or B, if things back in normal situation, what is the plan for her to help? Because you cannot do the same anymore regardless. So I just want to concentrate on that, then she can prepare. That's all I need to know, please. All right.
Okay.
Sarah, I think that's a really good point, and I think that one of the things that we're probably going to have to do with all grant recipients is probably have a COVID impact element to all of our agreements that effectively allow us to be more flexible going forward, not exactly what's going to.
That's right.
Yeah. And everybody's in the same boat nationwide.
Yeah.
HUD knows that.
I understand. Yes. Thank you. Yes.
Is there any other comments or questions?
No.
So Chris or Mr. Gibbs, can we assume that column 3 will be the final version? Or do
Yes,
you
so
suspect
you
there
will
might be
get
some
a,
changes from that before our next meeting?
maybe some tweaking, Chief, but I don't think anything material, unless, of course, the Budget Committee wants some material. But I think it's going to be fairly consistent with this. And then the process is the following this,
Okay.
it then goes to the mayor and then goes to the council.
All right, I would propose then that the members review column 3 and for next Thursday's meeting. And Chris, if you could reach out to Mr. Ackley to make sure he has the times
Yes.
for next week, and
Yes,
so that we could try to have all 4 members present.
Chief, if I can, we do have the final category of the ESG projects.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
Which is the 115,777.
Yes.
Okay, and if you notice, we have not made any changes from the previous budget proposal. Most of these funds are done in coordination with the Community Care Alliance, which is heavily involved in the statewide homeless program. Please note that we have been given from the federal government additional ESG supplemental money to the tune of $399,231. So we have the opportunity to working with Community Care Alliance and anybody else to help them serve their clientele that's being impacted by COVID. We have looked at other shelters in the city to see if, other than the Community Care Alliance's shelters, if there's others that we can support. One of them that I know, and Chris brought it to my attention, really is not interested in working with our program, probably because of the bureaucratic elements of the funding source. The third, there's a question as to whether or not they have the capacity to manage the program with the HUD money. But over the next 12 months, we want to reach out to them, see if we can build that capacity so that we could have additional homeless resources that we can look at from a competitive standpoint. But there are more money there, so we have the ability to respond to increased needs.
Any questions on the ESG projects?
Yeah.
No questions? At this time, I think the prudent course would be to review this for a 7-day period and convene again on next Thursday, the 21st, for a vote, unless there's major changes that come to light between now and then. But, I want to thank both Chris and Mr. Gibbs for their diligence on vetting the requested amounts to something that's has a defined path, whether it's through architectural survey of buildings or the actual delegated cost for the lead match, which has now been vetted over the 42 months to come down to just what this 12-month grant will work for. The question that I had, and Chris is going to reach out to Liz On the playground equipment, that is the only one that might have a possible change, but the rest, I feel, we're pretty much in line at this point. Are there any other comments from the board? Georgetta?
No, I think it's pretty good. And then the program's pretty well. Yeah. I'm good.
Siri?
I'm good for now. Thank you.
Siri, are you all set, or? Okay. So, does next Thursday, May 21st at 6:30 work for all of us?
Yes.
Okay. And Chris, you'll send out the invitation with the meeting ID?
Yes, correct.
Okay. All right, if there's no other business, a motion to adjourn would be in order at this time.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting tonight.
Siri, would you care to second?
Yes.
A motion by Georgetta, seconded by Siri to adjourn. An aye vote would be in favor. Georgetta?
Aye. Yeah, aye.
Siri?
I do.
And Finlay votes aye to adjourn at 7:37 PM. We'll see you next Thursday, May 21st. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Everybody.
Take care. I know.